Good evening, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the south. In memory of Lily, a council removes personal items from a memorial to a teenage crash victim. Her family say they're heartbroken.
For them just to remove it, I feel that they've desecrated a very safe and calm and peaceful haven.
Could Selsey Academy have been saved? Firefighters took 18 minutes to arrive, even though there's a station nearby.
An elephant in the showroom, the mammoth task facing one artist who's drawing attention to poaching.
And toilet humour. Motorists try to stay deadpan after this appears in the middle of a roundabout. Good evening. It's meant to be a place of peace and reflection, but the family of a teenager killed in a car crash say they've been left heartbroken after items left at her cherished memorial were removed by the council.
Lily Butterfield Godwin died alongside her best friend Abby Rogers when the car they were in hit a wall in Lyndhurst 2 years ago. The driver had alcohol and high levels of cannabis in his blood.
Lily's memorial included hearts, candles and teddy bears. Her family says it's insensitive they've been taken away without warning. Mary Stanley has our report.
It's a place that's brought comfort to the family and friends of Lily Butterfield Godwin, a place where they come and remember, with trinkets, candles and other memories left alongside a small plaque bearing her name. But the family was left in shock when they arrived to find everything gone.
For them just to remove it, I feel that they've desecrated a very safe and calm and peaceful haven, which is why we chose to put her here in the first place, because she was born and bred in Lyndhurst village and she died in Lyndhurst village. So she's still here.
19-year-old Lily died along with her friend Abby Rogers when the car they were passengers in hit a wall in Lyndhurst. The driver was jailed for 6 years and 9 months for being under the influence of drink and drugs. Her family say this couldn't have come at a worse time, with the 2-year anniversary of her death just weeks away.
It's just a lovely place to come and sit and look, and I can come up here and see everything that her friends have left. They've had their 21st birthday parties and they've left memories from the birthday that Lily would have shared with them, and they've all gone.
Lyndhurst Parish Council say cemetery regulations don't allow the display of certain items and had attempted to contact the family before their removal. They added, following several complaints from other families who had the memorials of their loved ones covered by the sheer amount of memorials surrounding Lily's plaque, the Parish Council felt obliged to remove those extra items. We apologise if any offence has been caused.
Obviously encroaching on other people's space is not very nice, as we wouldn't like it to be done to Lily. However, if we'd have had some warning saying we've had a few complaints, we would have had time to decide what we'd like to keep and what we could take away and keep at home. But I think it was just a bit sudden and a bit of a shock. It sort of feels like they've taken away the contact between me and my sister.
It must be hard. The family is now hoping to discuss with the Parish Council the possibility of a tree or permanent memorial where tributes can be left. Something bright and sunny, they say, like the girl they loved. Mary Stanley, ITV News, Lyndhurst.
2 people have been arrested and bailed by Wiltshire Police as part of the investigation into historic child abuse allegations against the late Prime Minister, Sir Edward Heath. Operation Conifer was set up in 2015 after claims about Sir Edward surfaced. The former Conservative Prime Minister died at his home in Salisbury in 2005 at the age of 89.
A pre-inquest review into the deaths of 11 men in the Shoreham Airshow crash has been postponed. It was due to take place next Monday, but will now be held on the 17th of March next year. It's because the final report by the Air Accident Investigation Branch is still outstanding and the police investigation is still ongoing.
A man has been stabbed in the leg in Bournemouth. The man in his 40s was injured during a fight with 2 other men on Pembroke Road in Westbourne at 9 o'clock last night. No one has been arrested. Could the academy in Selsey have been saved from burning down? The fire in August destroyed much of the school's main building. The closest crew from Selsey itself, and just 100 metres away from the academy, was unavailable at the time, delaying the response by crucial minutes.
It's all part of a wider problem with hiring and maintaining on-call retained fire crews. Sam Holder has been investigating.
It took firefighters 18 minutes to arrive at the Selsey Academy, even though there's a fire station just 100 metres away, meaning West Sussex Fire Service missed its own targets. So I've just walked from the Selsey Fire Station to the Academy, and it's taken all of about 2 minutes. If I was driving, maybe it would take 30 seconds. So if the call was made early enough, could the school have been saved? What if people were trapped inside?
It could have made all the difference. They may well have been able to confine the fire. It's extremely vital that firefighters arrive very quickly, ideally within 5 or 6 minutes.
The problem is that Selsey Fire Station has a retained crew, part-time on-call firefighters who respond to local emergencies. But on the day of the fire, the first crew to arrive was from Chichester, 9 miles away. Off-duty Selsey firefighters then made themselves available. Like many fire services, West Sussex isn't attracting enough retained firefighters, leaving stations without cover.
Of course, I would have liked Selsey to have been available immediately. If they had have got there quicker, they would have had some impact on the fire, although I don't believe they would have had a significant impact on the end result.
Presumably, the quicker you get to the scene, the more likely you are to be able to put it out.
You would, of course. I can't say that you wouldn't have had a better chance to attack the fire quickly. We've been very clear with the public and communities of West Sussex that recruiting and retaining retained firefighters is absolutely one of our key priorities.
Fire services depend on retained firefighters. Government cuts make full-time crews at every station too expensive.
Retained firefighters get a raw deal. There's absolutely no two ways about that. A retained firefighter has to do between 50 and 120 hours a week. And in return for that, they get something like £3,000 per year. So you can't have a drink, you can't walk the dog, you can't go to dinner. The problem is nationwide, and another incident like Selsey is inevitable.
The priority for the Academy has been lessons returning to normal, even if in temporary buildings.
Our view was that the fire crew supported us brilliantly while they were on site with us, and that we are very grateful for everything they did in saving the elements of the building that they did.
Despite the best efforts of firefighters, if problems with retained crews continue, the fears that they won't be able to respond in time to a major incident with lives at risk.
Nobody could have done any better than the firefighters did, but if it takes you 18 minutes to get there, you're almost doomed to failure.
Sam Holder, ITV News, Selsey.
Other news, the Royal Navy's ability to operate its 2 new aircraft carriers from Portsmouth is being jeopardised because there's not enough money to improve dockside infrastructure. Well, that's according to a new report from the government spending watchdog, the National Audit Office. It says there's a lack of funding to replace 80-year-old power cables at the Portsmouth Naval Base. £8.5 billion of repairs are needed at military bases across the country.
An iconic dinosaur structure, once the Natural History Museum's star exhibit, is to go on display in Dorchester at the start of a nationwide tour. Dippy, the 70-foot replica of a Diplodocus, thank you Fred, has stood inside the London Museum since 1979, but it's being replaced by the skeleton of a blue whale. Dippy will spend 4 months at the Dorset County Museum from February 2018.
You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Thank you for choosing us. Coming up.
How vlogger Ellie is an inspiration to thousands of young people in her treatment for cancer.
As always, for more on all of our stories, do head to itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, why not give us a call, 0808 1010 095, the number to ring. Or you can get in touch via Facebook, or should you prefer, why not send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
A gathering will take place in Aldershot this evening to remember 2 young athletes killed while out running a week ago today.
Stacey Burrows, who was 16, and her 17-year-old friend Lucy Piggott were knocked down by a car in Queen's Avenue during practice with the local running club.
Emma Wilkinson is live in Aldershot for us now. Emma, tell us more about this evening's event.
Well, this is the first time since last week that members of the Aldershot, Farnham and District Athletics Club have met here at their base at the Military Stadium. There are currently dozens of people inside for a lap of honour, and soon there will be a torchlit procession across this road and onto this field where the girls regularly trained. Flags will be laid out on the ground and people will gather for a 2-minute silence. Now, it's this road where the crash happened last week. Ever since then, there have been tributes building up. There have been messages, flowers, and it's clear from those messages that these were very respected, very talented girls. And it was very poignant that at the weekend, runners across the country and further afield wore ribbons and black bands and held 2-minute silence for these girls. That was very touching for the club's chairman.
We were so well supported by the other clubs that was fantastic. Then knowing that all over the country these leagues were taking place in Leicestershire, all over the country, and that they too were having a few minutes silence before being were either wearing black and some are wearing our club colours, red and green, in commemoration. It was just fantastic. It lifts you, I'd say, after the dark days of Tuesday.
Well, Mike says this is not just about honouring these 2 girls, but about helping the community get back to normality after what has been an awful week. A 24-year-old man arrested in connection with their deaths has been released on bail until February.
Emma, thank you.
The number of men who are victims of domestic abuse has risen sharply in the past 5 years, according to figures seen by ITV News.
The statistics are the result of a Freedom of Information request by the charity Mankind Initiative. Looking at last year in Sussex, for example, more than 7,500 women reported being abused, as did 2,500 men, over 30% of the total.
In Wiltshire, more than 4,500 women reported abuse to police, as did 1,500 men.
The percentage of male victims in places like Hampshire and the Thames Valley are very similar. With more now, Kevin Ashford.
Paul Chivers, who lives near Swindon, suffered abuse at the hands of his wife. He needed 8 stitches to a head wound after she hit him with a hairdryer. Paul and his daughter now live alone. His wife was jailed for 16 months after being convicted of unlawful wounding.
I lived a day-to-day walking on eggshells, those sorts of things, being coerced into situations I really didn't want to be in. And yeah, I mean, society, their view on what a male's role is doesn't actually fit into a male being a victim of domestic abuse or violence.
We've got one here from the first assault.
Ian McNichol still bears the scars of the times he was attacked by his partner. She was jailed for 7 years for causing him grievous bodily harm. The assaults included pouring boiling water over him and hitting him with a metal bar and a hammer.
I had no life. Imagine being so scared that you hold your breath in the middle of an assault because your partner, who supposedly loves you, will interpret you breathing out as a sigh. That's a challenge to what she's saying or shouting. And she did that because she could. She had total control over every aspect of my life.
Now, according to the latest figures, since 2012 there's been a 5-fold increase in the number of men who've been victims of domestic violence. On the face of it, a dramatic increase. But a charity that helps such victims says that rise, in part at least, is due to a change in attitudes.
In some respects, we find it encouraging, because what it means is that more men are actually coming forward and going to the police to get help. For decades now, men have felt too embarrassed, they felt a sense of shame, and they felt that they won't be believed when they do come forward. That's now changing.
Get your hands off me. The Mankind charity made this advert 2 years ago, using actors to highlight the public's differing responses to violence suffered by women and men. They acknowledge that the majority of domestic abuse victims are women, but say work still needs to be done to help men trapped in violent relationships. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Well, if you are a victim of abuse, there are people who can help. Do go to our website for full details. Now, we've got plenty of vloggers here in the south. You know who they are. They're the people who document their lives in video blogs posted on the internet.
So Ella from Brighton is famous for her work. 10 million people have watched her on YouTube. She's now released a book and her own makeup range.
And here's the Sarconi family from Crawley who film 30 minutes of their lives a day. 468 million people have watched them around the world.
Well, tonight we bring you another vlogger, a teenager who's turned a cancer diagnosis into a chance to tell the world about her treatment.
Yes, a year on, 15-year-old Ellie Waters is using her experience to inspire thousands of other young people, all from her bedroom. Sarah Cooper's been to meet her.
When Ellie Waters goes up to her bedroom, she speaks to people all over the world.
Hey everyone, do you recognise this ribbon?
She started putting her videos online to share a very personal journey.
I just felt quite lonely, depressed, obviously, because of all the chemotherapy. And I just wanted to try and reach out to people and just help others going through the same situation as me. And I just wanted to make a change and do something with this. What's the point of going through such a crazy experience and not doing anything about it?
Last August, Ellie collapsed during a charity run like this one. At first, she thought she'd pulled a muscle, but then she found out the pain she'd been ignoring was a tumour the size of a melon.
If I left it any later, then I could have got kidney failure because the tumour was wrapping around my kidney tubes.
Ellie was diagnosed with a rare form of soft tissue cancer. She started making videos to help other teenagers fighting the disease.
There's no point turning up glamorous to chemo because chemo isn't glamorous.
Part of her tenacity and strength is a little bit why we didn't, get diagnosed earlier. It is part of her. She sort of puts up, shuts up, gets on with it. It is part of why she's done so well, but it's also part of why she kept quiet so long. But it is one of her strengths, and she's given a lot of strength to other kids as well.
Childhood cancer gets very little funding.
Ellie films and edits everything herself. One of her videos has been watched more than 70,000 times, so she's doing her bit to raise awareness.
People mainly have never heard of a sarcoma unless they're touched by it because a relative or friend has contracted a cancer of that type. But if the public were more aware that a growing lump could be something to take very seriously, I think that would help.
Ellie's now cancer-free, but she's still having chemotherapy to make sure it doesn't come back. Now back at school after what she calls her gap year, she's already making up for lost time. Sarah Cooper, ITV News.
All the best to Ellie there. Now, when wildlife artist Jonathan Truss set out to paint a life-size portrait of one of the world's largest animals, he found he was lacking a bit of space to work in.
But a local business in Dorset came to his rescue and he's been busy creating a work of art which you can hardly miss. Work that he hopes will raise awareness about ivory poaching. To tell us the full story now, Martin Dowse.
Among the staff and customers browsing and doing deals at this car dealership in Poole, there's something of an elephant in the room at the moment. Artistry on a mammoth scale amidst all the shiny paintwork. This improvised studio space was offered to artist Jonathan Truss as one of the few places he could work on his 15-foot canvas and create his life-size Big Tusker.
Working on such a grand scale so closely is actually really difficult because the scale is all wrong. So I really have to do, every time I do a few brush strokes, I have to get off, go back, have another look at it, come back up the gantry, start again, rub it off, it's not right. It's very time consuming.
Jonathan's been painting elephants for 25 years. On this, he's working from photos of Satao, Kenya's largest elephant, until he was shot and killed by a poacher's poisoned arrow in 2014. He was one of a diminishing number of big tuskers, elephants whose tusks are so long they almost touch the ground. Jonathan's seen them up close in the wild and wants to help protect these magnificent creatures.
To see a big tusker or a great tusker, when you see these elephants and you see how the other elephants react to this big guy, they've got such respect. There's so much going on. You think you've seen an elephant, then you see a big tusker. And let me tell you, there is nothing like these big guys. They are just incredible to see.
Poaching for ivory in Africa is a hot topic worldwide at the moment. The elephant gene for growing tusks is in danger of being wiped out, leaving only tuskless animals on our planet. Big tuskers may soon only exist in paintings, photographs and film.
I want people to stand in front of this painting and look at it and think, oh my word, look at the size of that beast, look at that animal. And we're losing so many elephants at such a shocking rate at the moment. Poaching is so rife now. Probably we've lost 2,500 elephants in the time I've just taken me to paint this elephant here. These guys will be gone. I mean, unless you offer 24-hour protection for a big tusker. I mean, even this guy, Kenya's most famous elephant, was poached and killed by a poacher's arrow. What a loss to the world if we lose something like that.
When Jonathan's painting of Satao is finished, it'll be left on display for a few weeks and then sold at a sealed bid auction. A percentage of what it makes will be donated to elephant charities. Martin Dowse, ITV News, Poole.
Now, you won't want to hear this, but it's 40 days until Christmas Day. But at Wakehurst Place in Sussex, it already feels like Christmas.
Absolutely. They have got Britain's tallest Christmas tree, the giant redwood near the National Trust property near Ardingly, and it's 118 feet tall.
Plenty of lights needed then. Over to Wakehurst and director Tony Sweeney. Tony, come and tell us, how many light bulbs on that tree?
I've just counted every one of them. There's 1,800 of them. All low power LED. The whole lot consume about the same power as an electric kettle.
There were cherry pickers used to put the lights up, but you went up a different way, Tony, is that right?
I saw our arborists who climb up and do some of this work, and I thought it must be really joyful doing that climb, and I said to them, can I go up this year? And they thought I was serious, so I did it.
You're not scared of heights then?
No, it's I can tell from my muscles are going to be aching tomorrow morning, but it's a real pleasure. You're on this beautiful big tree, lovely soft spongy bark. It's got a lovely scent to it as you go up, and the views are just spectacular.
You presumably go to a lot of trouble to keep it looking as good as that.
Well, it's an amazing tree. It's an iconic tree, this one, and it's become something of a real festival. We've been doing this for 23 years now. And each year we add a little bit, and now that it's linked to our Lantern Festival, I think it's something that the public really enjoy as part of almost a Christmas tradition here, like carol singing and so on, while the nights get a little bit colder, and the warmth and glow really does add cheer for Christmas.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, and the very best of luck this Christmas.
Thanks a lot.
Looks brilliant.
Absolutely superb.
Magnificent. A lot of lights going on at the moment, actually.
Will the weather be kind for that beautiful Christmas tree?
Well, I think you might know someone with the answer.
I do. His name's Simon Parkin.
Bright spark.
And here he is, a bright spark.
From blizzards to Poole, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, now, for many of us last night, the supermoon turned out to be a super flop, but perseverance paid off for Clinton Whale, who stayed up all night in Tuckton just waiting for the perfect moment. Sure enough, in the early hours, the cloud broke long enough for him to get this brilliant picture. Meanwhile, Colin Lee in Southampton took matters into his own hands. He got a bowl and also a letter O and created his own soup. Moon. Well, it's the thought that counts, isn't it? But if you did miss out on the real thing, don't panic, because the new moon in a month's time will also be a super moon, just not quite as super as the one we've had for the last few nights. And again, there's very little chance of you seeing it tonight because there will be a fair bit of cloud around. Various fronts coming our way over the next few days, and you'll notice the lovely yellow on the map that shows the mild temperature starts to turn a bit bluer as every front passes by. So by the end of the week, you're going to notice how much cooler it's going to feel, with temperatures struggling by day to get into double figures, whereas today we've had highs of 14, 15 degrees. So will be a very mild night tonight with temperatures around 13, 14. Breeze increasing for a time during the night. There'll be some mist and murk as well as a good deal of cloud, and then through the early hours we'll see some outbreaks of rain push eastwards. Mostly light and patchy, but perhaps turning heavier for first thing tomorrow morning. Bit breezy first thing as well, but that rain's going to quickly clear away eastwards, and then behind things will improve as the cloud breaks up. We get some decent bright or sunny spells on the go, and temperatures much like today, peaking at around 14 or 15, with the winds well along the coast around 10 to 15 miles an hour. As for your high tide times, you can see in Poole 10:05 in the morning, 10:30 in the evening.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Now, just before we go, we need to share a bit of toilet humour with you. Yes, and here it is. This pink sock-clad mannequin stuck upside down in a toilet certainly raised a smile or two on drivers' faces near Reading this morning.
Yes, the artwork, if you can call it that, mysteriously appeared on Playhatch Roundabout on the A4155 Reading to Henley Road. It's not yet known who put it there or why. If you know, get in touch. Otherwise, it might go, Sangeeta, down the pan.
I was going to say help flush them out.
I was going to say flush with success.
Yes, exactly. We're good, aren't we?
But don't poo-poo it.
In just a moment, the ITV Evening News with Mark Austin and Mary Nightingale.
I'll have our late news, but for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thanks for putting up with us.
Thank you for putting up with us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.